Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Rosy Recap. Today, we are joined by Pooch from BigBrother 24. Pooch, thank you so much for joining us today.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you very much. I love speaking about Big Brother. Love speaking about the game, especially other people that are passionate about it. So I appreciate you having me for sure.
Yeah, it's been so cool to see you and then have you here. And I can tell you were a big fan of the show from watching you on the show. You said that you have watched a bunch of seasons since you said you were in middle school, right?
Yeah. So me and my mom started watching probably around season 12, 13, which was pretty cool because I did an interview today with Rachel Riley, which I'm obviously a big fan of. And she's, one of the Big Brother goats. So yeah, if you watch my gameplay, by the way, I went out, people might not think I've never seen the show, with some bad decisions I made, but I really am a diehard fan of Big Brother. It was one of the things where I explain, it's not like I apply for reality TV shows like all the time. Like I was your normal like college student, college football coach, just a big fan of Big Brother. A couple things, actually made me apply this year. So I went 1-for-1 with TV shows with Big Brother, and I was super happy with that. But yeah, super big Big Brother fan for sure.
Sick. Yeah. So you said you started watching 12, 13. That's when Rachel was on. So how was it?
Exactly.
Was it weird getting interviewed by her?
Yeah, so I truly think it was one of my first seasons. I think the I can't even say Brigade with Enzo and Hayden and all them I can't remember if it was 12 or 13. But I think that was one of the first true seasons I started watching. So it was super cool. Obviously Rachel, her famous line, if you're a floater, grab a life vest, which is, one of the all-time Big Brother gifs. But yeah, it definitely was a cool experience. She was amazing. So yeah, it definitely is. The Big Brother alumni a lot of them been reaching out and have been great to me. It's been amazing, obviously being a fan. So when they reach out through Instagram or Twitter and they, a lot of them have been supporting me, had my back, which has been amazing.
That's so cool.
That is really cool.
Yeah, the Brigade was huge. That was like one of the very first alliances that really just like steamrolled the entire season and never got found out. That was super sick. So yeah, I want to ask about the premiere of your season that you were just on.
Yeah.
So you guys go into the house and you get chosen. You pick up your envelopes or whatever those were, and then you open them up, and everyone gets a different thing, gets sent to a different part of the yard to play a different game. But you open one, you get the backstage pass. And I remember I remember looking at your eyes, and you looked like you were kind of like darting your eyes around, thinking like, "Oh man, I got this weird twist, and what's going to happen to me?" What were you thinking when you first opened up that envelope?
Yeah. So what happened was, I've tried to explain this. So before opening night, well, actually the same day. So like literally an hour before they had us all on a Zoom call, and we couldn't see each other's faces. Oh. So you couldn't see or hear. So the only people who were allowed to speak or you could see was the game committee. Like, I guess the way you do it through Zoom, however they were able to manufacture it, is like there was no names, no faces, whatever. So we really don't meet or see anybody until we get in. But they were doing that so they could explain the rules. Hey, this is how the games are going to work, just to give you a heads up so you know what's kind of going on, what the rules of the game are. So I remember listening to that. So I remember listening about the porta potty, the jewelry station, and then the hang station. And while I was doing that, on a little DVD player they gave you, because you were basically locked in a room, so like a dressing room with not much to do for a few hours. So they gave us a little DVD player, and I was watching The Office. I'm a big fan of The Office.
Me too.
It's hysterical. So I'm sitting there watching it, and as this is going on, and I was paying attention and doing both. So the first thing that happened when I was in the backyard, I was like, "Oh my God! Like, was I paying too much attention to The Office?" I was like, "Did I miss a key part of like something that's supposed to happen, of whatever the backstage boss does?" So I was looking around because I was like, "Okay, if they explain this to me, I don't want to look like an idiot." So I was like, "Let me look around and like try and see. Maybe I missed it." And that's why I missed the big golden chair, which I know a lot of people saw, because I heard Julie Chen, and it was hard to hear because there was a lot going on. My mind was going about a million miles a minute. So I walk upstairs, up the spiral staircase. I'm like, okay, do I walk into a room? Are they going to like have me like give me a power? Are they going to ask me to do something in like isolation, like a question about something? And then obviously I was just supposed to sit in the chair, and I walked right past the 7-foot golden chair, which just shows how fast my mind was going. But yeah, definitely craziness.
Yeah, that was crazy. So yeah, so you get that, and then they tell you that you have to choose 3 people to also become the backstage, whatever, the VIPs.
Yeah.
Looking back now, would you have chosen 3 different people, or would you still have chosen the 3 people that you chose after having experience and everything?
I truly didn't know what I was gonna do, and I was freaking out because I was like, yo, I was like, I'm gonna have to hand select, like pick you, and you, and I was like, that's gonna look really bad, because it's like it's anytime you, because that's when you start picking off like first impressions, looks, appearances, which I like to get to know somebody first before I make any type of important decision, especially like that kid that could tremendously impact my game. And thank God I had no idea. I said, hey Julie, I was like, I have to make that decision now. And she was like, well, you have a quick little TV timeout, basically. And that's when the thing popped into my head of, okay, let me take the bottom three from the competitions, which I felt like was smart. So, and it was tough because the porta potty station where I was standing in the backyard and how tall the porta potties were, I truly couldn't even see those 5, 6 people. So it was kind of crazy. So I really could only see the faces. It was kind of looking around at the jewelry station, and the hangman station was probably where I had the best look. But like, who got splashed first? I think it was Paloma in the porta potty station. I didn't even know that. I had to say when I got up there, I was like, okay, whoever got splashed, I don't know, boy, girl, alien, like whatever. I had no idea. It could have been a puppy that got splashed. I had no idea. So I told them, I was like, hey, whoever got splashed. And then, so my reasoning for the jewelry station, I think who was in there was, so I told the people that made it to the almost, if you won it, you won the HOH thing. So the people on stage. So Turner almost won HOH. So I told him and Monty, hey, I know for a fact I'm not going to pick you guys because you guys did a good job in the competition. You shouldn't get faulted for doing a good job. So it was that. I walked in the house with Terrence. So my only two selections were Taylor or Brittany. And then the only two first impressions I had of them was when I first walked up past the golden chair. I tried to explain this on Twitter and got killed. But Taylor, I heard Taylor was like, she's like, Pooch, you missed the chair. Like, you missed the chair. And she was the first person who helped me, caught my attention to come back around for the chair. But the real thing I picked up about that, obviously she has confidence. She doesn't mind speaking, which is nothing wrong with that. But I could just tell right away she had a little bit bigger of a personality because I didn't even know Brittany was in the backyard. She was so quiet, So it was something where I just, obviously you want to pick somebody who's, just will really keep to themselves, not as, confident, or in a sense, Brittany's a confident woman. I just couldn't tell that right off the bat. So with those two quick instances, because there really was no last choice, I couldn't pick Turner because he did well. Terrence, I walked in the house with, so I didn't want to do that to him. I explained that. And, I ended up picking with Taylor. And then Alyssa was pissed. Alyssa was the one that when I picked her eyes, I gave that shirt, she pierced through my freaking soul. I knew I probably wouldn't be on good terms with her. I definitely fixed that relation throughout the game, but didn't start out in her strong side. But you know what? I was happy with my decisions. I'm just pissed that it was 3 girls. I know that definitely hurt me. That never helped because right away, that definitely put us on different sides of the house. So I was just pissed. It ended up being 3 different girls. Maybe the one change I would have made was picking Terrence over Brittany, maybe, but I don't know, man. Either way, I don't think that was my downfall in the game. I think a couple other bad decisions were, but it definitely didn't, help my game.
Yeah, it's also kind of unlucky for you because this is one of the only seasons where an all-girl alliance actually got together and started making moves. So it kind of, although that might not have been what they were thinking about when they had you in mind, that probably didn't help you either, So
Absolutely
unlucky draw of the straw, That's crazy.
And that's why I really do think, I believe the first couple HOHs are so important, because if the guys won the first couple, I tried to start the all guys Oasis, it didn't pan out. But, if we won 1 or 2 HOHs right off the bat, I really think the Oasis could still be there and be strong right now. But obviously, didn't work out that way.
Yeah. Well, so that first week, a lot of crazy things happened. One of which being that before eviction night, Paloma unfortunately did have to leave for personal reasons.
Yep.
And totally could tell from like everyone's reactions, you guys really cared about her and wanted like whatever was best for her. But since she was one of the backstage VIPs that you had picked, how did you feel about her leaving? Like, did you think like, oh, like, how is this going to affect me now? Because I'm the backstage boss and she's one of the people I picked.
Yeah. So at first I was obviously we all just wanted to make sure Paloma was okay. The thing that's crazy, and I try to explain, is that before we even go into the house, we're put in sequester in a hotel room for 2 weeks. And it's not like, oh, you get an hour a day, you leave a couple of hours. You're in the hotel. My feet did not leave that hotel. It left the one time to go do media at CBS. And besides that hour to do media, I was in a hotel room for friggin', and you know what? It was a lot and it was tough, but you're so excited about going on the show that it doesn't bother you too much, but it definitely, affects your, where you're at mentally. And then you go into the house. So by the time you go into the house, the week one of the house with the 2 weeks in the hotel with no phone, no TV, no communication to the outside world, that's already 3 weeks where you're basically, locked up. So it's definitely crazy. I wanted to make sure Paloma was okay. I've spoken to Paloma and Amira. They're both doing great. Both lovely young ladies. They're doing amazing. But yeah, it was something where obviously after that, I was kind of hoping, or what I was really hoping they would do is, I really felt that they should have kept things the same, because it just, it was unfortunate that it happened, but why change the whole game over a situation? They were still nominees on the block, but the backstage boss, whatever was going to be special ability or surprise. So I think they should have kept things the same. What I thought they were really going to do was take away a double eviction later in the year, but I should have realized the double evictions are so exciting that it wouldn't have made sense for them to do that. Everybody loves them. I love a double eviction because it can literally spin the house upside down in the matter of an hour or 2 hours. So it was something where, yes, obviously everybody was trying to think about it. At the end of the day, I felt I was safe, so I wasn't too worried. Whatever happened, I would have just tried to pick it up from there and do damage control. Whoever went house, if it was one of the backstage 3 of the girls, and it was obviously Paloma left. So if it was Brittany and Alyssa, if one of them went home, I would have tried to do damage control with whoever they were friendly with in the house. But yeah, obviously I was worried about it. It wasn't ideal. I wish I went in without a special power, because I feel like my social game would have been strong enough to keep me safe that week one anyway. So it really, backfired a little bit. But I appreciate CBS. I don't know if they picked me or how I was selected, but yeah, I don't know. It happens, I guess.
Too. I didn't know if it was just, I'm sure they're saying it's random, but I was wondering how they actually made that go out. But
yeah,
reality TV is never random.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like, I knew that it wasn't, obviously it made sense with somebody in the final group, which if you go into the Big Brother house, you never want to be in the final group. You'll want to go in right from the jump, because you start making connections with people, even if you don't really speak, smiles, smirks, body characteristics. It's just something where, you make the game starts right away. So when you're the last group to walk into the house, you feel like you're 20, 25 minutes late, and you truly are. So I think that was definitely planned, but with me, I think there was a lot of, interesting people, strong personalities in that last group to walk in the house. So if they gave it to I don't know if they handpicked me, but it wasn't like you actually scanned the card. So you just put your card in and whatever popped up. So, they definitely, I don't know how it worked out, but it worked out. It was lucky number 11. So I don't know if it ended up being too lucky, but that's why I grabbed it. So,
yeah. So then the next week starts, and you decide to go and say that you want to go up as a pawn to get out Taylor. And I was just kind of wondering, I know you said that you mentioned Dr. Will in some of your confessionals about how he wasn't afraid going on the block, which is very true. I just wanted to know, what was your end goal strategy with that? Did you really think that if you went up as a pawn, you kind of would show loyalty and that you weren't afraid of being on the block, so that you should be feared? Or what was kind of your mindset with that decision?
Yeah, so the best way I could describe my decision was, obviously I've watched the game. I know pawns go home. I truly do. I was one of the, I don't know how many, the exact number, but I wasn't a recruit. So I applied for the show. I was a fan, did everything, kind of started the process on my own. Then you start talking to people, you learn that a bunch of the house guests weren't recruits, which is nothing wrong with it. They obviously are better than me because they're still in the house and I'm sitting here. But I truly didn't think they knew the whole aura or mantra of pawns go home. So I was like, okay, that's cool. I could start building my resume, because I was like, if I get later in the game, there's a lot of likable people in this house, a lot of likable personalities. It's going to be hard to friggin' win. I talked to Kyle's mom, has been awesome. We've been back and forth on the phone, texting. She's amazing. And I even said to Kyle's mom, I said, Mama Jay, I said, I would not want to sit next to your son in the final 2. He's a very likable dude. He's a good dude. He's honest. I was like, I probably would lose that one. And she said, yeah, that makes sense. I understand that, because at the end of the day, it's a game. So it was something where I was trying to build my resume from, week one. And I thought it was something where I was like, you know what, let me make this an easy HOH, because I started the Oasis with the All Guys Alliance. And once a girl won, I didn't want them to even think about putting 2 guys up. So I was trying to, when the block was hot and, the topic of conversation on the block was Taylor. I know, in the best way I try, people get so mad when I've been saying this, but, Taylor's a competitor. She's a straight competitor. So am I. I'm a football coach. We train to compete. We're trained to win. And more importantly, we're trained not to lose. When she she's a professional, model with pageants, and she wants to win. I'm a football coach. I want to win. So it's something I saw that right off the bat, and I knew obviously working with all the guys at some point, she'd have to be crossed off the list. And I truly felt the strongest ladies in that house were Taylor, Amira, and Nicole, which they're all, the two of them about to be out of the house now, Amira and Nicole, because there's certain people you can't sway. And once you figure out there's a mind in the game that you can't sway, it's very tough, because you either want to keep people you're aligned to or people you feel like you can pull at when you really need to. But I really thought those three ladies were so intelligent. They would be very, tough to try and pull when I needed them. So I felt, let's keep it. If we don't get Taylor now, she's going to be such a good player where she's going to be an asset to somebody. And if it's not going to be me, and I didn't know at the time, and seeing the leftovers now, I definitely think I could have been a part of that. But, I didn't know what was going to happen. And I felt like if we gave her a week or two, which obviously it's literally what ended up happening, where now she put herself in a very good spot in the game. So I thought, let's try and I put her back on the block. Let's get her out, and then we can start going from there after that and really draw lines down the house. But I knew whoever they kept in the house week one, me or Taylor, we would cause chaos for the entire house. And that's really what Taylor's doing right now. She's putting a lot of people's game, in trouble. So she's killing it.
Yeah, I a lot of times the Big Brother, there's always that person who gets put on the block, every week, because it's just like an easy out. But I feel like people never want to take that person and add them in, because it's like they're shunned almost,
Yeah.
So I'm glad this season there is an alliance that realizes, oh, we can use this person as a free agent because they've already been shunned by half the house. So this will be easy. That's what they did.
Absolutely. Yeah, and I explained in my DRs. I don't even think they showed all of it. I explained that the girls, they did half of the plan. Getting me out of the house was amazing. But I would explain in my DR, I said, hey, if the girls aren't considering getting me out of the house and then taking Taylor and adding them, I was like, they could gain two numbers, because I'm out of the house. So the guys are in trouble. They gain Taylor. But, I kind of felt safe in the house, because I really didn't think the girls were going to put their personal differences aside. And they did enough to get me out, but I don't think they did enough to start working with Taylor. So it was something where the guys actually did that. And then Michael and Taylor, who were kind of on the outside of the girls, jumped ship fully too. And the girls were in such a good spot in the game. And it's something where Turner, my boy, his HOH really screwed them up, obviously making sure he got Amira out, which I love Amira. But that was such a good gameplay by Turner. And then forming the leftovers was amazing by everybody in that alliance, obviously.
Yeah, totally. It's been crazy so far. This has definitely been one of the best. I think this has been one of the best seasons of Big Brother since at least 5 years, I think.
I've been saying that. I truly think it's like, because a lot of seasons, it starts very slow, 3, 4, 5 weeks, and things start happening. I'm obviously, besides Paloma, because she had to, self-evict for, personal reasons. I think for me and Amira to be two house guests to get kicked, and it's not like, oh, I'm such a great player, but I knew if I was in the game a little bit longer, I feel like I would have made a lot of noise, and in a good way. And I feel like the same way with Amira, where we would have been threats down the line. And the fact that we both got backdoored right off the bat. And, I don't want to give any spoilers, but for those who know, it looks like somebody else will be getting backdoored too come Thursday. So the starts a week with 3 backdoors. I love it, because it means people are playing the game, right? It means people, they're invested. They're not there to just kind of float through and get through the game. I love Big Brother. At the end of the day, the one thing people ask me, why do I miss being in the house? I miss playing the game. I'm with my mom, dad. I'm like, yo, you want to form an alliance? They're like, dude, relax. You're not in the house anymore, dude. They're like, you're fine. Yeah, man, I love the game. And that's why I wasn't mad when people ask me 12 votes to 0. I get it. You got to vote with the house. I think from what I heard and watched, it was more like I probably had a solid 4, maybe 5, but they just couldn't get that 6, 7 I needed, and couldn't convince anybody. So once you're not, once you're on the different side of the house, you got to jump ship once you knew you can't make the decision you want to make and get on with the house, or you'll be in trouble.
Yeah, for sure. That was kind of leading my next question, which was, how did you? Because whenever you're watching the show, you're always trying to guess like how the person getting evicted really feels. A lot of the times they're like, if they're blind, they're like, oh yeah, I could see it coming. It was no big deal. And sometimes they're actually blindside. I think for you, it looked like you were legit blindside.
No, truly blindside. Oh, for sure. I got served the blindside butter beans. A big scoopful. I had no idea. People were trying to say that because I was dressed up. I had an idea, The only reason I was dressed up is because I'm such a big fan that I said, hey, if this is my one chance to meet Julie Chen, evicted out of the house, I'm not going to do it in gym shorts and a tank top because they said we had a kind of an endurance comp after, so everybody got changed. And I was like, hey, it's easier for a guy to get changed, so I understand why Taylor didn't. And obviously, she felt pretty safe. I'm sure that was part of it.
Yeah.
But it was something where I was like, hey, I have my clothes. That's why after I got evicted, I grabbed my clothes because I was like, I can just leave them, but I like the shorts and the tank top. So I went and grabbed them. And that's why I ran out the door and grabbed my bag. But yeah, it was something I was truly shocked because once I heard 12 votes to 0, I was like, okay, your boy's good. I was like, Pooch is good. I was like, I know I at least had Turner, I at least had Joe. So I was like, I'm cool. And then she said Pooch is evicted. And I was like, damn, Julie, your boy really just got blindsided. So you see my base, because I'm sitting there and I'm kind of like, it's like half smile, but it was more of like, I'm nervous, but also like, this is so cool. I'm sitting on the block of Big Brother. Julie Chen's about to either serve my ass home or about to tell me I'm safe. So I'm sitting for another week or sitting there for a couple of seconds. And then the face, obviously, once she says, Pooch, you're evicted by 12-0, just because, in a sense, my dream was, crashed, ruined. It's not easy to get on the show. Even though, I did it my first time, not saying I'm better than anybody else, but I know the process and it is a difficult process. You got to put a lot of your life on pause, a lot of your responsibilities. And it really was a lot. And I truly believe that I didn't know or nobody would tell me right before I got evicted is because we all know how hard it was. And nobody really wanted to be the one to crush my dreams of being, the real first person evicted because Paloma obviously self-evicted. And then I was the first person to get voted out. So the first kind of real one in the sense to get my ass served. So I think everybody really just didn't want to be the one. And it makes sense now because right before the voting started, I saw Turner in the kitchen. And Joseph walked over and gave like a little quick like whisper comment. And I was like, all right, that's weird. So I walk over to Turner. I was like, what was that about? And I'm sure they were saying, dude, do we throw Pooch's votes or do we go with the house? And that's where Turner said to me, and it makes so much sense now because he didn't want to lie to me. And I knew it. He said, Joe asked me what I was going to do. And he knows what I'm going to do. I told him, which was, I think that conversation was, what, Pooch is our boy. But at the end of the day, we have to be with the house right now and side with the house, which I totally get. I think people I know were going to be shocked how I reacted because I have a big personality. There's no doubt about it. It's very hard for me to hide my emotions, but I also have so much respect for the game. It's just like when I'm coaching a football game, if I got my ass beat 50-0, I'm not going to cry and want. I mean, they got me. They got me. They got my team. I got to do a better job preparing. Being a professional. So it was something where I definitely respected. I love every house guest, and kind of that's how I feel about it for sure.
Yes, actually, I wanted to ask you a question. I just thought of. I'm guessing about Dan Giesling.
Yes, so I know Dan. Yeah, for sure. So actually, yeah. No, go.
I know he's also a football coach, and so I was wondering, did you ever think about like not saying your profession and the fear that people might associate Dan being a coach and then you being a coach too, or did that never really cross your mind?
Yes, it did. I actually thought about because and it would have fit my personality a little bit more in college for a little bit before I started coaching. I did like worked for an entertainment company, dancing as like a hype man to like Sweet 16s, weddings, where like I worked right under the MC and basically had people out of their chairs dancing, making sure they were having a good time. So, and CBS loved that. They kept asking me about it. So I thought, I was like, you know what? I could go in and talk about it. But the problem is, it was so long ago, and I worked a lot of bar mitzvahs. And I was nervous that if anybody started asking me about the bar mitzvahs, it's been so long, I really don't remember all the different processes of it because there's different ceremonies, presentations. So I was too nervous. I would get caught up, and I really love football. I mean, I'm a passionate person. I talk about what I love, and it's something where I knew it would sneak out in a way. And I also felt like it's not like I was trying to hide I was a rocket scientist. I'm a football coach, and it's something where I don't think too many people knew about Dan. Obviously, there's a lot of fans of the show, but I honestly, if you ask from the house gift, I don't even know if they would have known that Dan was a football coach, honestly, because they kept talking about Dan's, funeral, and how good he was on Big Brother, but it never came up that he was a football coach in conversation when the house guests would speak about Dan. So yes, I thought about it. I wasn't too nervous. I thought it was more something that would rub people the wrong way. It would be my personality. And I don't think it did, but people were nervous because they were like, hey, we love Pooch right now. He's super funny. But I heard and saw conversations there, like, we love him now, but we're very nervous because he's a bigger personality that he'll rub people the wrong way, which is tough because, I do think I know when to draw the line, and I try not to cross it. And it's something where in my personal life, I love being the class clown. It's in my heart. It's something where, I love to make people laugh. I enjoy it. But at the same time, it hurts me in a sense because when I try and sit down and have that serious conversation, I could shut it off. Like, okay, funny Pooch is done. Time to sit down, serious conversation. But I think in people's mind, they still think they're talking to funny Pooch. So it definitely hurts me a little bit because I obviously at times I want to be taken seriously. And I think that hurt me a little bit in this game too. But if that's my fault, man, that's just who I am, and it is what it is.
Yeah, I mean, you seem like you're a really strategic player and you came in with a really strong like mindset and game plan. So this like blindside eviction really did throw off what seems like a really well planned out game that you had. So let's just say a little what if
I love
you
these.
had won the HOH competition instead of Jasmine. Did you have like a plan in place for that? Like, did you have initial targets you wanted to get out, or like how would you have gone about an HOH week?
Yeah, so my plan, and it sounds so dumb now, but I think, I don't know what, but I would have, made sure to do obviously my background check about what happened, about like, say the votes were split, okay, and I ended up staying, but half the house was against me. I would have tried to figure out who that was, what about it that way. But I apologized to Joseph, obviously he's still in the house, but I thought it could have potentially been him because me and Joseph didn't talk a bunch of game. Like, we were just bros being bros, guys being guys, So it was something where we talked a little bit of game, but not a ton. And he wasn't totally on the side of the other side of the house, but other people, I think, were trying to warn him without trying to warn him. And then he tried to warn me, and he'd be like, "Yo, Pooch, you're gonna go chill out a little bit, like tone it down." And I'm like, tone it down. I'm like, what do you want me to do? I was like, this is as toned down as it gets. Like, there's not much else I could not do. So I was getting frustrated with him. But my plan, I think, initially would have been to put it, because if it worked out, it would have been to put up Joseph and Indy, right? Because it would have broken up the aspect of, okay, Joseph and Pooch aren't as close as they say they are. And I would have said to the girl, I was like, hey, I put up one girl, I put up one boy. Like, I'm done with everybody saying it's on genders, boy versus girls. I put up one, Joseph is a physical threat. He's my target, but that wouldn't have been the case. It would have been Indy, and hopefully that would have bought us one more week, and then the lines would have been crossed, but it would have been one more where we would have really had numbers. If Taylor was gone and then Indy was gone, I think the Oasis would have been in a good spot. And if it was something where Taylor ended up staying and I was still in the house, just like the Leftovers, did a great job starting to work with her, I would have loved to have done that. I think it was really smart and a key decision in the game.
Yeah, for sure. And then so this last week we saw the Leftovers form, but how'd you make you feel whenever you saw the guys get together and basically form this alliance to avenge your eviction, basically? How'd that make you feel?
Yeah, man, I love that. The Pound. I saw that, the Pound. They were like, "Our boy Pooch ran away." And that was hysterical. Because, dude, I really love all them. I really do. Everybody in the house, especially that little group, Monty, Turner, Kyle, Joseph. We all really clicked right away. And it was something where I really think they wanted to have my back, but they also knew where half the house was against it. And they knew at some point I would be a threat in the game. So I think they knew, they're like, hey, why not? Let's do it. We'll miss our boy, but at the end of the day, we'll see him after the show. But that's been awesome, seeing that stuff, especially Turner. Like, Turner made a great decision being able to get out of Amira. He did really detective work to figure out who started, the whole get Pooch out, and it really was Amira. I love Amira. We've been texting back and forth. Me, Amira, Paloma have a group chat. We named it, "If you suck at BB, you're in this group chat." And as people get evicted, we'll add everybody else. And then once people that are actually did good on the season, we'll have to come up with another name. But yeah, man, they had a really good alliance. I really do appreciate them, thinking about me. I really do.
Yeah, for real. Okay, so talk about the Leftovers forming and then how it was because you were evicted, basically. So then I wanted to ask you about the plan to blindside Amira. How did you react to that when you were watching from home? Did you think that was like really cool? Did you think that was crazy? What did you think?
It was definitely crazy, but it was a great gameplay move. The fact that, because the easy thing would have been to let's put up Taylor again. And I was hoping that didn't happen. That would have just, it wouldn't have been good for the season, would have been good for Taylor. I don't think it would have been good for the house. So the fact that Turner was able to, really dig deep and figure out, okay, what was going on, who really slipped flipped on Pooch. Because it wasn't Taylor. Taylor was sitting on the block with me. Anything she had to do was to protect herself, 100%, understand. So the fact that, because I think other people would be like, oh, it was Taylor, but that would have made no sense. So the fact that he was able to, get Amira out, I thought that was a great gameplay. I love Amira. Me and Amira have been texting back and forth. She's a super intelligent, super classy young woman, man. Really love her. But yeah, I thought it was super smart them getting her out of the game, because if not, if they made another guy went home or Taylor went home, the girls would have been even, propelling themselves even higher.
Yeah, I mean, Amir was like one of the ones I was thinking could win the whole game. So, and we kept saying that, down the line, they're going to wish they got her out sooner because she's one of those players who I think if they get really far, will definitely win. So it was pretty crazy whenever they actually decided to try to blindside her. It was a good move. So then how did you react to the whole new twist with the Fessy Bessie? Who do you think you would want to be your Fessy Bessie?
Yeah, so I've been going on like TikTok and IG Live, and people have been asking me this. And I really was like, I didn't know at first, because it's like, okay, do I pick my boy Turner? Probably not, because people see it as a pair. It's super easy for someone to break up a pair. Probably wouldn't have made sense. I was like, Monty and Joseph, two physical threats, potentially could help my game. But once again, it's tough because you're up to, two physical threats that, next to each other. Why not get one of them out? So I was really thinking now, maybe Michael would have been my decision, because me and Michael were somebody where we were friendly, but it's not like we were hanging out, bullshitting all day. So, me and Michael got along enough where I think we could have worked well, but nobody would have put us up together and be like, oh, we're breaking up this pair. And obviously Michael's a beast at competitions. He beat my ass twice. So I think that now if I had the opportunity and I got out, I would have picked Michael if he was available for sure.
Yeah. What do you think about the twist? Like, are you a fan of it, or do you think it's like really weird?
I think it's different. I don't mind it. I think it's cool for the game. I think they'll have to end it sooner rather than later, because I feel like it protects too many people, in certain situations, but it also makes it harder for the game because you got to make more decisions, really cross lines, draw lines in the sand. Like Terrence made a great decision when Amira went home to jump. Okay, who should I pick? We have an HOH competition. Let me pick two of the strongest physical threats in the house, Joseph and Monty. And obviously it played off for him. So I don't know now if they're going to add a fourth, and if Taylor, or how that's going to work. But I think the twist will have to end sooner rather than later. But if they do it for, if it lasts for 2-3 weeks, I think it was cool. It was interesting, something different. I feel like they've done a great job of kind of changing the game up this year. Like all the competitions, I'm a big fan. I'm thinking, okay, I'm getting ready for this, and this. There hasn't been a competition yet that I was really like, okay, I expected that one coming. So especially that friggin' mermaid challenge, which I'll never forget till the day I die.
That was so funny.
Oh, you have no idea. That's the one thing that gets me frustrated thinking about the mermaid challenge, because I got like seven or eight balls back and forth. So if it was like a race, like, okay, go back and forth, how many balls can you bring back? I could have done it in my sleep. But for whatever reason, because I kept knocking the little pebbles around the holes, I watched online, because obviously when you're doing something like that, you're going so fast, not even thinking. So I finally watched it on TV like a week ago, a couple of days, and you're watching it, and I didn't even realize how close my friggin' balls were. And it's something where the whole time I was rooting like Taylor, oh, please, Taylor, don't win. Because that would have helped my game, keep us both on the block. But the best case scenario that could have happened was if Taylor won, Taylor would have came down. I heard they were speaking about putting up Joseph, which would have been bad long term. But if it's to help me stay another week, I would have been like, if they explained that to me, like, hey, Pooch, we're going to keep you, but we're going to put up Joseph, get out of physical threat. I would have played nice guy, like, oh, okay, thank you for saving me. But that next week, I would have been causing chaos. Like, yo, you went after my boy Joseph. Like, now I'm. So it worked out for everybody, I think. But yeah, that mermaid competition. Every time I see a body of water, pool, swimming pool, friggin' lake, man, I think about the friggin' mermaid competition, I swear.
Yeah, living in Florida will forever remind you of.
Oh, absolutely, for sure. Absolutely. Craziness, pure craziness.
Yeah, so like you've mentioned, there's so many strong players this season. Who do you think right now is the biggest threat in the house? And who do you think is playing a really quiet game that will later become a key player?
Yeah, so I really thought Kyle was in a great spot about 24 hours ago, 48. I still think he's in an okay spot, but I think somebody will eventually see him in that duo with Alyssa now forming. because I know, like, knowing Kyle, and it's like, oh, you're really gonna say you know him? You only know him for 2 weeks, but knowing him, and then talking to his mom, he's a strong lover. Not saying he's gonna fall in love with Alyssa, but when he's interested in somebody, he's very interested. So I hope that doesn't affect his game. He's super intelligent, so I don't think it will. But I definitely think I think Alyssa going this week probably would have helped him more long term than it would if somebody else goes. Um, but yeah, I really thought Kyle was in a good situation. Things kind of change up now. I think Joe is doing a great thing. Him kind of teaming up with Taylor, starting to form the alliance, I think is really good. So I think Joe and Taylor are in a good spot. But the thing with Joe and Monty is they're both so physically,
Yeah.
jacked and threats that at some point somebody's gonna be like, we have to get them out. It just depends who's gonna take the shot. Because people like Joe and Monty, they're never gonna go home week 1 or 2 because nobody's gonna take the shot that early. And that's part of it too. I felt like I was and Kyle too, even Kyle, man, he's a physical threat too. So I felt like I was in that bottom tier of guys where it's like, I'm a physical threat, maybe, but I'm not in the top of the list. So if somebody's going to take a shot, it's probably going to be at me first. So that's also why I try to get on people's good graces and do the whole pawn thing. But, I feel like a lot of the guys are in a good spot. Taylor's in a good spot. I feel like there's some people that are not in, I feel like Daniel's in a tough spot right now. Nicole's in a tough spot. They're kind of in the doghouse of everybody. Jasmine's in a bad spot right now. So which kind of leaves Indy and Alyssa alone. So I really feel like the leftovers are in a good spot. Brittany will be the one person that's playing like a low-key game in the sense where if you asked me week 1, I was like, yeah, Brittany's like not in a good spot right now. Doesn't have too many close relationships. Super nice, sweet girl, sweet woman. But it was something where she's, playing the game hard now. And she was a little bit week 1. It's just for whatever reason, I don't think things were falling her way. But she's absolutely, I think, killing it now quietly. My boy, Sweet Tea, Terrence, he's a beast, but he is such a good, genuine guy. If I could be a father figure like him one day, I would love that. But I just don't know if he'll win the competitions when he needs to. But you never know. There's been more crazy things. So I truly say, and I've been answering everybody that's been asking me these questions like this. I think it's anybody's game right now. I think the next 2-3 HOHs are going to be critical, because there's still a couple more people that you kind of pick and choose that aren't outsiders, but, kind of outs of the alliance or, the people I said that are kind of in the doghouse of the house. So it's something where maybe not this week, next week, but the 2-3 weeks after, man, those HOHs are going to be critical for sure.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, it's kind of funny because everyone kind of thinks of like, the big jack guys, like the biggest threats in the house. But as we've seen this season, Michael's the one who's won the most competitions, and he's one of the skinniest guys in the whole house. So it's like, it's always people always have in their mind that those guys are the big threats, but a lot of times it's not the people you don't necessarily think of. Yeah,
absolutely.
Here's an interesting question I want to ask you.
Yeah.
So from your time in the house, who do you think is the best liar in the house right now?
Ooh, good question. Well, I really not liar, but in the sense of like Taylor did a great job of playing it like she played me like she was out for the count. She was playing, she was hanging out by herself, like, and she had the votes, obviously, like it was getting to a point. So the fact that she still was like kind of, pretending like she's very disappointed. I was like, it made me feel good because like, damn, she feels. So I feel a little bit better about myself or about staying in the house. So Taylor did a great job, man. That's what I'm saying. Taylor's, and people like from everything, the way she carries herself, the way she presents herself, the way she thinks. Taylor's so intelligent. She's going to be a threat in the game, which she has been. So Taylor.
Oh no.
So Taylor, everything, the way she, carries herself, plays social games. She's the beast. She did a great job. I had no idea she was going home. Kyle, I was saying, I think I trusted too much where I don't think he's a good liar because now I remember the conversations I had with liar because when I knew I was sinking when it was Wednesday night and I was talking to Alyssa. And this is when Alyssa's not a good liar. She let this slip, which almost didn't give me a second chance, but at least let me know I should be very worried. I was talking to Alyssa because I know she's a little bit more of an emotional person, which isn't wrong, but I felt like I could use that to pry things out. So I was like, Alyssa, I got your friggin' back. I was like, what's going on? I feel like there's people scrambling around my house, like behind my back. I was like, what is going on? And she was like, yeah, like people just been hearing about All Guys Alliance, which I like, that makes sense. If we hang out a lot, I get that. But then she dropped a bomb. She said, yeah, whoever like made the Oasis, that was a dumb move. And I'm like, the Oasis. I was like, how do you know that? I was like, you should not know that. If you know that, I was like, I'm in trouble because it means all the girls know it. And then the two guys, Terrence and Michael, they probably found out about it and they're pissed that I didn't include them in it. So I was like, no, this is, and that's when I knew I was probably done for, or at least I was like, I will be shocked in a sense where if this wasn't as bad as I thought it was, which it was as bad, everybody knew about it, found out. But like when I first, after that conversation, I went to eat everybody in the group individually. Monty, Kyle, Turner, and Daniel, who was kind of like the one man in the alliance, but in and out. But I was like, Kyle, did you tell Alyssa? And he was like, no, bro, I would never do that. Who would do that? And now I'm thinking about his facial expressions, and he was not a good liar. I just invest so much trust in certain people. But obviously I got to work on figuring out who's a good liar and not, because I thought Joseph was the one screwing me and he was my friggin' boy. So I'm just, I guess, dumb for thinking that. But yeah, definitely Alyssa's the worst liar. And then maybe Taylor or, some of the guys are the best. Amira is pretty good liar because Amira is like a robot. I love Amira, but she does not show emotion. When I would speak to Amira, I was like, I don't know if you love me, hate me, despise me, think I'm hysterical. I was like, I have no idea. Until obviously when we were talking nod game stuff and like everybody would have a blast. But right before we did the votes, I went to Amira. I was like, yo, I got you this week. Because I did. I felt like me and Amira, she was a threat in the game. I would have had to have taken care of her sooner rather than later. But I felt like keep your enemies close, or keep your friends close, but your enemies closer. I felt like that with Amira. And I was like, Amira, I got you. And it makes sense. She goes, I know, Pooch, I know. But she didn't say I'd keep your ass safe. So it was something where everybody lied to my face. So they're all good liars in my book because I got 12 votes to 0. So obviously I trust too many people. So I'll try and fix that. But yep.
That's why I wanted to ask you, because you literally got lied to by every single person. So
that's what I'm saying. They all did a good job in a sense where I guess they felt me feel sad. I looked Nicole in the eye. I said, Nicole, I got you. Like, which at least because there was only 1 or 2 targets I had, planned for the next week. So I was trying to promise everybody else safety besides those 2 people, that I was going to try to go after. So it was something where they were all pretty good, I guess. I don't know. I should have just been smarter, maybe. I don't know. Mixture of both.
Well, I mean, it seems like it because this last episode we saw them, they were all lying to the whole other side of the house this whole week, and nobody saw it coming. So
yeah, there's a lot of good actors. I'm telling you, I give them a lot more credit. A lot of them were a lot more. I definitely underestimated them taking big shots and kind of being badass and drawing that line, because they definitely did it. If not the week after with Amira. So it's definitely, that's why I'm so excited about the season, because there's a lot of strong players. People aren't afraid to make big moves. I think it's a really good season. I'm not just saying that because I'm on it. Obviously, my ass has been home for about a week and a half, 2 weeks tomorrow. Happy 2-week eviction to me, I guess. But yeah, I think it's been a really good season.
Yeah, I've really enjoyed this season a lot. And we always like to try to predict at the beginning, who's going to win just from the very first few episodes. So I know you have your thoughts on who's in good spaces and who's not. But if you had to predict right now, lock it in, who do you think
today from right now, everything I've seen? Yes.
Who do you think is going to win the prize money?
God, I'm so interested to see. I will go. And this is not, I'm trying to go zero bias. I'm trying to block off all the bias, personal bias, who I want to win. I could see Monty. I could see it. I think it's still tough but if he gets carried or not carried, but if he works well enough with a certain group till 5, 6, I've seen that man. That man's a legit 6'3", 6'4", but not just a big upper body. He does not miss a leg day. Does not miss a leg day. So when they come, and I know a lot of those HOHs, you got to be, or a lot of them are mental too. But if he gets to a point where he could win 1 or 2 of those big endurance competitions, and then somebody brings him a little bit closer, and then he wins a mental comp, I know he's going to have a chance to win the game. I think he'll get down to 5, 6. So he's the best bet, I think, just physically. But there's a lot of good players, man. It's really, it took so long for me to answer that, because I could truly right now make a case for every person why I think they'll have a chance to win.
Yeah, we've been saying we think Monty. He kind of reminds me of Xavier from.
Yes, exactly. I said that from the jump. They're both such good dudes, and when you're that big of a physical threat, when you're a good person, it kind of hides that. It makes you not think about it as much, because if somebody's, excuse my language, an asshole, If they're an asshole and a physical threat, it is even more noticeable. But if you're a good dude and you're a physical threat, it like you let them. You almost are like, hey, I'm gonna keep them around for a little bit, and then you keep them around even longer than you expected, and then next thing you know, they're winning competitions, the important competitions, and you're in trouble. So Monty's another guy I would not want to be sitting next to, but I would be super happy if he won.
Yeah, for sure. I agree with you. Yeah. So I've been wanting to ask people this question. I have like Big Brother really badly. So if you could carve your own Big Brother Mount Rushmore, okay, and put 4 faces on the Mount Rushmore, who would you put up there from either your people from all different Big Brother seasons, people that you like, people you think are the best players? It can be any criteria you want.
Yeah, so I think for my Mount Rushmore, I would put the 4 faces. I'm gonna do, I think, the best of the best. You know what I mean? I think Dr. Will. I truly think, I don't think Janelle likes me, which is unfortunate. But Janelle, whether she likes me or not, I do think she's a beast when it comes to Big Brother. I mean, she was a calm beast, social beast, a threat. And anytime you're a noticeable threat and you still make it to the end, I think that's impressive. I think Dan's a mastermind, so he's definitely in my top 3. And then my 4th, that would have to be tough. I would have to go back and look and really, well, not look, but just bring up some faces and kind of make the case to myself why they should be, in that position. Maybe it's people because I know they don't love him, but Cody potentially. I do think Cody,
he's one of the best players of all time. He really is.
I truly think so. I know people, they weren't happy with the All-Star season and stuff that went on, but from playing the game standpoint, I have no problem putting him in my 4. Because he played a great game. He went up, he did what he had to do with Derek, and Derek was a role model for him. And it unfortunately was a reason he didn't win the game, but it taught him so much for the All-Star season. Where, I did the podcast with Cody, talked to him. He's a good dude, man. He's a competitor. I have no problem. That's my 4 right there. Dr. Will, Easily, and Cody. I have no problem. I can stand by that 4 any day of the week.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. I think Cody gets overlooked a lot because it's recent, but he definitely, it's crazy that his one alliance member went the whole season without getting put up on the block, and then he did the same thing next season. That's crazy.
Exactly. No, it's great. That's what I'm saying. Yeah. So he obviously learned from his part, his duo, and obviously took the advice, which is important because you got to be coachable. So he was coachable, took from what he saw from his kind of mentor and ran away with it. So I got to give him credit.
Sure, that's great. Yeah.
Yeah. So today when we were trying to come up with these questions, we wanted to know a question maybe you've never been asked.
Yeah.
So we're curious, what does it smell like in the Big Brother house? Because there's a lot going on. So
there's a lot going on. So honestly, there's not too many bad smells. I would not want to be by Turner's bed because he's a mess. It's hysterical. So it was me, Terrence, Nicole, and Turner in the motorcycle room for the first week. And Turner's, it's weird because Turner's not a clean person, but he doesn't smell either. He just leaves a mess. So it's like his clothes, they started by his bed, then they started going by everybody else's bed. Next thing you know, they were all over the room. You're like, dude, how do you even pull this off? And I love Turner, but one of my favorite stories, he asked me for chapstick. I'm like, yeah, bro, I got you. Gave him a little chapstick. He squeezed on his finger, put it on his mouth, and he had too much on his mouth. So he took it off and wiped it on his bed. And I was like, dude, you are gross. Oh. You are gross. And we would sit there and just laugh. But it kind of, what I like, the outside, and I love the smell of kind of turf because being a football coach. So they do a great job with the artificial grass. I'm probably one of the only people because I'm a friggin' nut with the football stuff and turf, but I definitely love the little smell. It's not bad of turf, but like hot rubber because the backyard gets super hot. So the backyard smells like a little bit of hot rubber, but not bad. And then inside the house kind of depends what room you're in. But honestly, I've never been in the house and be like, yo, this smells terrible. So it's not a bad smelling house. I promise you that.
That's good because we're like, there's a lot of people, there's a lot of
exactly
lights and people are sweating and I don't know.
Yep. No, the thing they do a good job at, well, not a good job because I hate the cold, but they keep it at like 60 degrees in the house. So you're almost freezing a lot of times. You know what I mean? So they keep, I guess, for the cameras and to make sure they keep the house guests awake. It's really freaking cold now, too.
Yeah, I've heard that. Here's another good one. So let's say you get offered to come back from BB25, right? But you had to pick one player from BB24 to come with you. Who would you pick right now at this moment?
So it's tough because I would want to pick because of personal, relationships, so I would love to pick Turner. I would love to probably pick Monty. Those are two of my guys. Kyle, obviously he's liked by the woman. So maybe Kyle, but it's something where if I had to pick one, maybe Monty, because he's more of a physical threat than me. So it's somebody where I know we'd work together, but people might go after him before he goes after me. But with his social game and how well he plays, I think we'd be fine. And I like hanging around with Monty too. I really do. Just like I do with a lot of people in the house. And I think people are going to realize, like, especially after the show's over and everybody's out. I know a lot of the Big Brother cast in the past, they all hang out, this and that. Like, I don't think they realize how close we're going to be. Like, we really like each other. I can't speak for everybody, obviously, but I really liked everybody. And it felt like while I was in the house, obviously it was short-lived. But I know I'm going to have a lot of good friends coming out of that house. I'm super excited. I don't hold anything against anybody that, especially game-wise. Like, I was talking to Amira. When Amira and Jasmine, they were in the HOH room and they wouldn't let me in, which I saw the clip. They were like, F, it's Pooch. They're like, pretend you're sleeping. So I'm knocking on the door and I'm talking to Monty. He's like, yo, just go in. I'm like, dude, like, there's girls in there. What if they get changed? Like, what if they're sleeping? Like, I was being nice. I didn't want to bother anybody. And, I'm thinking, oh, they're just sleeping. But no, they were planning my demise. But I said that to Amira. I sent her a text. I said, if I ever try and get in the HOH room, ring that doorbell and you friggin' pretend you're sleeping again. I was like, we'll never be friends ever again. She was dying. Because, at the end of the day, it's a game. It's not for me. They were doing it because of game, so it's something I laugh about the stuff with everybody. I think it's funny. I think it's a game. At the end of the day, I could, cut game in real life and personal, agenda. So I'm really excited to see everybody after the house for sure.
Yeah, I bet that's really cool to be able to have like friendships like that, because you guys truly only know like what you all experience together. Like every
absolutely
season is different. So
yeah, there's obviously there's special bonds you go through in life with people. I feel like that's a very special bond. And they're like, oh, how could you like somebody in 2 weeks? We have nothing else to do besides get to know each other. You know what I mean? It's probably, I talk to more of them than my roommate or people I live with, or, stuff that you really just, all you have to do is get to know each other and learn about different people and their different experiences, their culture, their background, their family. So, and I love that stuff, especially because it's hard to do nowadays with phones. Even now, the social media stuff been going crazy where, I'm almost glued to my phone 24/7 because I feel like I got to put out content. I'm trying to respond to people. I'm trying to do this, that, which I love doing because I'm a passionate person. I love people, but I miss, being locked out from the outside world again, because that's when I wasn't stressed about social media, phones, bills, real life issues. So in a sense, I'm still jealous and I love that, I'll never complain about, what's going on. I'm blessed. I know so many people love to be in this position. I'm going to work my ass off to try and, steer this in the direction of sports media where I wanted to go for myself. But it's something where, it's definitely a lot. It's a little overwhelming, but I love it at the same time. So.
Yeah. So we just have one more question, and it's really simple. If you had to give advice to somebody who's going into the game, what would your one piece of advice be?
My one piece of advice is, I think it's so important you find that one rock in the house. You're one person that I don't know, however it happens, whether you from first look, first glance, relationship, you need to find that one person who's your rock quickly. Because when you have one person that trusts in that house and will not lie to you, it's very important. It gives you a sense of comfort, and it's something where I trust that one person, but trust nobody else, and if you could have that one rock that you could come back with information, and then at the end of the night, you guys can always talk and see, feel like where you're at in the house and what's going on. But, no matter how good you feel about with other people, besides your one rock, don't give up too much information. It's where I hurt myself. I trusted a big group of guys. I felt, I really felt like we could have went far in the game. They had a different agenda, a lot of them. That's fine. It's obviously working for a handful of the guys. But it's something where no matter how, because it was something too where I was, I said, when the girls were in the HOH room, when Jasmine won, they were in there a lot, trying to make it at their room, which I'm fine with. But I said, I was like, to the guys, I gave a pep speech, I was like, the girls think that's their penthouse. Like, wait till we're up there next week. That's going to be our crib, like this and that. And then one of the guys ran back and brought it to the girls. And that just sealed my faith even more. So as much as you trust people, man, don't say anything stupid, you know, that as best as you can. Don't trust too many people. Have your one rock in the house, find who that is, and see what you can do, just like Derek and Cody did. See what you can do to help each other get to the end. Be loyal to that one person, you know, and everybody else kind of figure out week by week, you know?
Yeah, that's good advice.
That's good advice.
Appreciate it.
Yeah. So thanks so much for joining us for this interview, man. You've been such a good dude, and it was so fun to watch you on the show. Do you want to let people know where they can figure out what you're doing outside the house now?
Yeah, absolutely. So y'all, once again, I really appreciate it. I love doing this, man. I truly do. I hope you guys can see. I don't just do it to do it. I just love speaking about the game. You know, it's something where I love Big Brother. I will always be a diehard Big Brother this season, next season, and until it's over, which I hope it never is one day. But yeah, my socials, man, you can check me out on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. It's all Pucci_Maine. Just like Gucci Mane, kind of like it was catchy, you know. It's something. I'm not putting myself in the ranks with Gucci, I promise. I'm just saying that, you know, it's catchy.
Yeah.
So it's something where, yeah, I'm going to keep putting out Big Brother content like I have been. You know, I'm trying to. College football season is around the corner. I love sports. You know, being a former college football coach, I'm trying to, you know, dive into the sports media world. So I'll be putting out a lot of sports content, especially college football. So yeah, check it out, man. I would love if anybody wants to talk Big Brother. I love doing it. Sports, man. Those are my two favorite things in the world. So that's where you can find me.
Heck yeah, I'll pop into your Instagram lives every now and then and say hey.
Please do, yeah, man. If y'all stop by, I know they probably get annoying. I don't shut up, but if you stop by, I appreciate that, man.
Awesome.
Awesome.
That's awesome. Well, thank you again, and everyone, be sure to follow Pooch and see what he's doing outside the Big Brother house now. And don't forget to like and subscribe to the Rosy Recap so you don't miss any more awesome episodes just like this one. And that's a wrap for this episode of the Rosy Recap. Thanks.
Bye.